How's your morning so far?
Good, you're our first
Okay.
interview, so.
We're our first days.
Great.
And they fed us, so we're
There's such long tables, you feel like we all just want to kind of scooch up this side.
How much have you started filming, and is there anything you've seen about the series that's sort of surprised you the most?
We're shooting episode 108, and I've just got the script for 109, which actually surprised me, 109, because it sort of goes off for sort of a whole episode somewhere kind of marvelous. But there's nothing that surprised me so much. I mean, I guess everything is surprising me because none of us know who the murderer is. So every time we watch anything, or I get to see some dailies, or I do some ADR, or you suddenly kind of are watching a scene that you haven't seen that other co-stars are shooting and go, oh, that's it, it must be you. So I think in that context, the murder thriller is pretty fascinating.
Did you read the book before?
The book?
Yeah, like the kind of the overall kind of
of the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the episodes are coming weekly, so the whole which was very different from the Nick that I did. That we had all 10 episodes up front, so we actually had about 2 months to prepare and work and map our journeys through them. For this piece, we just had the pilot, and then literally sort of went into production, and the scripts are coming in kind of the day before we go, quite a lot of the time. So that's been really fascinating, and really having no idea. And I've never worked like that. I've never done television where you're doing, episodic like that. And I'm actually loving that part of it. It's fun, when you're doing a play or you're doing Shakespeare or something classic that, you spend a lot of time mapping that journey, and there's no way to do that for this. You have to just go with the character. I don't know what's happening tomorrow, and neither does Allison. That's sort of where you start, which is great. It's fun.
Now, the first episode alone kind of like cast aspersion on at least 1 or 2 of the family members. At some point, we're going to be wondering about you.
I don't know. Maybe. I would think so, probably. I mean, so far, I think everybody's in the frame a little bit at the moment. And I think it is that thing, like if we all sat in this room for, 3 weeks, by the end of those 3 weeks, I would know all your best virtues and all your flaws, and, well, not all of them maybe, but we'd know, you'd probably see that, this aspect of me that might not be so great, and I think that's the thing that's happening with this family, is it's like, a bit like 12 Angry Men, we're all stuck in this room. And the more you stare at someone, the more you go, actually, you do have the potential. And I think that's definitely happening at this stage. Yeah.
Tell us about your co-stars. You got some great people.
They're absolutely incredible, and it is sort of such a cliche to say it, but Virginia Madsen is amazing. And watching her work and coming to set, and the way she is on set is an inspiration. And I'm actually learning so much from her and from Anthony Starr in particular. Anthony's so great for this because he's one of those actors that you sort of can't get away with anything on screen with him. If you say a line and he doesn't believe it, he just sort of looks at you like, no, I'm not going to answer, I don't believe you, which is just, it's really what you want. Because if he's not going to believe it, no one else will. So I love working with them, and the whole cast are really amazing. It's a fantastic crew. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
And the creepiest kid.
The creepiest kid ever, Gabriel Bateman, who is such a discovery and such a wonderful actor and so present. And he improvs a lot of his stuff, that will be sitting, and if you throw him a line off script, he's right back, with something, and that's really rare in a child actor. And it's also nice because he's sort of one of the exceptions. He really loves acting. He's not being put there by a pushy parent or someone who wants their child to be a star. He just loves acting, and so he's really great to have around.
Have you seen the actual pilot yet? Have you seen the scene where we see just how bent that kid is?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen far more than that by this stage. It gets pretty dark. Yeah. And I love that aspect of the story that, this whole idea that, has he become that way because of who his parents are, because of the way he's grown up, because his dad's an addict and his mother's, you know, that they're not very present as parents? Or actually, is there a gene in the family that is, you know, has sort of psychotic tendencies? And I think that is something that, as we're, you know, discovering more about gene technology, and we're making huge advances in that area, that's something that I've been reading a lot about, actually. And it is a very fascinating little sort of side debate in the show. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about your character and like her relationships with the rest of the family?
So Allison is the eldest daughter of the family. Her eldest brother, Anthony Starr, Garrett Hawthorne, disappeared 14 years ago. So, and he was the golden child. So when he left the family, Allison has sort of stepped into the role of, I need to be the one who makes something of herself. And so she's very driven, ambitious, tough, and she kind of, I think the only person that's stronger than her is her mother, who really has her and everybody else wrapped around her little finger. So it's a really interesting character in the sense that on the surface she's running the show. And I think as the series develops, you see more and more that really there's such a desire and need to please her mother, but actually she's nowhere near as strong as she seems. And I think that's kind of interesting about her. She's running for mayor. She wants to make great change in Boston. She's probably actually would be really good at it. I mean, I might vote for her, apart from the fact that I've seen too many of the behind-the-scenes shenanigans. I might not, but that might be the case for every single political candidate we have right now. She can be pretty ruthless. I think, as you saw in the pilot, that you know she doesn't have, her moral conduct is questionable.
Let's not look into this until November 6th.
Yeah. Haven't we all said that at some point?
Do you think airing it now with the candidacies going on is sort of making it more relevant that there is that political backstory?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, it's television. Everything has the sort of glossy stamp of television. It's entertaining. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, we get these. It's sort of the behind the scenes stuff that's really interesting. We have a lot of scenes at my campaign headquarters, and you know, all of those things about the other candidates found some dirt on you and they're about to release it, and how the hell do you stop it coming out, and all of those elements. Every time I see something in the press about Trump or Hillary or Bernie, that I'm constantly thinking, I wonder how many aides figured that one out, or that side of it's really interesting. And I think it is mirroring. I think when we're airing, obviously Corinne, you know, is a brilliant writer and very tuned in to the political climate right now. And I think the show will mirror a little bit of what's happening.
What struck me was there's a lot of humor in the show that I wasn't expecting going in, and how much of that did you know would be a part of the show going into it?
We sort of reading the pilot, there were things in the pilot obviously that read that you thought, oh, this could be very, you know, black humor, but we weren't sure, because obviously in a pilot you don't know what the tone is when you shoot a pilot. And so we asked a lot of questions, said, can we take it there? And they said, yeah, you know, that's kind of, let's go there and we can always pull it back. And I think it just began to work. And yeah, there is a lot of black humor, and I think it's really needed, you know, this kind of story. Yeah, especially from Cam, Justin Chapman's character, and from Gabe, his son. Yeah.
Are you doing much shooting in Boston? How much Boston shooting?
We've only shot twice in Boston. We went for the weekend, and I shot on Palm Sunday outside, you know, in the main square outside, I think it was City Hall. And we shot a huge speech and press conference, and while the whole Palm Sunday parade was going on, and then we cut that scene because we didn't have time to put it in. But we have done a bit, but mainly it's all up in Toronto. Yeah. Yeah.
What about that house? I was looking through the scenes, and the house is
gorgeous. Incredible, and the sets up there, and the inside of the house, and there's obviously a huge stage in Toronto, and it's really amazing to be in there. It reminded me, it's funny, having gone from the Nick to this, you know, I think I got lucky in that I know it's such a sort of change, but I got lucky in that the sets feel huge and epic and very real, and that's always a really wonderful thing.
What would you say your character's worst trait is?
Selfishness. I think yeah. Would it be selfishness? Yeah. I think selfishness is probably where all the sickness comes for every member of the family.
And her best trait?
Charity. Yeah, wanting to make a difference for other people.
Jumping on that selfishness question, if it came down to her or her family, who do you think she would choose?
Well, that's another question, isn't it? Birth family or her, chosen family. And I think about that a lot, as we're going through this. My character and Megan Ketcher's character, who plays my younger sister Tessa, she's newly married, they're trying for a baby. I have a husband and 2 twin girls. And I think it is that thing of, if it came down to the wire, would you choose your birth family or your husband and your, the children that you've actually had? So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't actually know what she's going to do. I possibly her own family.
You've been working in America for a while. I'm wondering, just to hear your thoughts on the fact that there seems to be this trend going on in television, American television, where you have American Gothic, American Horror Story, you have Scream, all these horror TV shows that have that touch of humor, but they are originating here in the United States. So what do you think is going on in the culture? Where there are a lot of great shows in other countries, but it seems to be in America that we're. You're
right. It's a really good question. It's a really good question, and I don't know the answer to it. It's interesting. Anthony was talking about New Zealand at the moment, the New Zealand independent film, because Anthony's from New Zealand. And he said that, the idea that New Zealanders would ever make a romantic comedy is insane. Like, you just would never see one. You'd never see a romantic comedy. And I said, what kind of movies are you making? He said, every independent film is dark. Like, very, very dark. Like, just black. Like, the way it's shot and the stories, and it's people sort of, heart-wrenching stories. And I think that's just where New Zealand, like Anthony was saying, he feels that's just where New Zealand is right now in their cultural identity and in their history. So looking at that, as an example, I don't know. I think America's kind of, digging in and sort of looking at the guts and trying to figure out what we're all doing in some way. You probably answered the question better than I would. But no, it is a fascinating
I was
point.
just curious because you're, like I said, you're very familiar with this culture since you've been working here for a while, and I was just wondering from an actor's point of view.
It's interesting from an outside perspective, being a Brit, coming to America, and I've immersed myself in American culture. And it's funny, sometimes I think about, I miss home and I go home for 3 weeks and then I'm sort of there and go, okay, get me back. I want to get back here. I think this culture is a yes culture, ultimately. England, within a few weeks, if I turn to someone and say, I really want to produce a movie, everyone will go, oh, don't bother, it will never work. It's an immediate no. And here, there is a sort of feeling of like, go for it, do it, that'd be great, And I wonder if, I don't know, America's sort of more willing to just go in and examine and look, and we're in kind of a bit of a scary, dark place. I mean, if you look at the political climate, it's troubling right now. And so I wonder if there's something about examining that in a commercial, entertaining way. I don't know.
Last question, please.
In terms of immersing yourself in American culture, what are you watching, listening to, reading?
God. What am I watching? I'm not watching a lot, to be honest, at the moment, because I feel like I'm working 20-hour days every day. But I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of TED Talks and This American Life, and I've been reading Malcolm Gladwell. What else have I been reading? I've been reading a lot, actually, about the 1900s in America. I'm still immersed in Nick books, because I sort of feel like that is such a especially being in New York, that's such a fascinating period and gives such a great understanding to sort of, the evolution of New York. Yeah, that's sort of it. I've been watching a lot of political women in the political arena speaking, and been watching lots of, what is the channel? You know, where you get to watch, you know, C-SPAN. I've been watching C-SPAN on endless repeat, which is great. That's sort of it. Yeah, it is an education. Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.